Welcome to the May 27, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on Republican U.S. Senate candidate Darryl Glenn receiving the endorsement from the Senate Conservative Fund this week. And we have officially a 5-person race with Ryan Frazier officially making the ballot, and his votes will count with a court decision this week. We've got a crazy Senate race, or at least the primary race so far. Patty Calhoun from Westward. What do you make of the endorsement? Is that going to be enough to push Glenn into the upper tier of this 5-man race?
Well, who is in the upper tier? I mean, it's almost impossible to tell, and it depends on if dead people vote in this primary. You know, Maureen Moss, the person who is getting the signatures from dead people, we've discovered has been charged before with fraud. So it is really going to be all in the turnout, who has registered, made a dent in any way with a block of voters, and it's almost impossible to tell. We've got Jack Graham, who's actually buying ads, but they don't seem to have a lot of give yet. You've got Darryl Glenn, who attracted so many people at the convention, but we don't know if that is going to go to rank and file Republicans, if they'll show up to vote for the primary. At this point, it could be anyone's guess, and it'll be just how they split the vote. So I think this obscure conservative group that no one really has talked about in Colorado is not going to make the big difference for Glenn. It's going to be if he gets his personality out there.
Amy Oliver Cook joins us from the Independence Institute. You see the 5-person race, and they all bring something different to the table. We have this recent endorsement for Darryl Glenn, who won a convincing win at the state assembly with a bunch of folks that are part of the party base, party insiders, that earlier that day all voted for Ted Cruz. So does that person have an advantage because he's really conservative, or do you have somebody else, who Robert Blaha, who is quoting Trump a lot but didn't get any movement there and also had some ballot issues? You have John Kaiser, Jack Graham, you have Ryan Frazier. Take your pick. Who has an edge?
I'm exhausted.
Just tell me.
I'm like, oh my gosh. And what is funny about it, if you go to the caucus, if you look at what happened, so the guy, Tim Neville, that was the conventional wisdom, he's the outsider and he's going to win. Well, apparently caucus goers didn't think of him as the outsider. They got rid of the establishment and was somebody totally different. So I have no idea. I will say this, though. A primary is an entirely different ball game than a caucus, which is why, as flawed as our system is, I mean, I agree with you that what we've said about gathering signatures and everything, I like the fact that there are 2 ways you can get on the ballot. Get on with a caucus and you can petition your way on, because the primary is an entirely different ball game.
Eric Sonman, political analyst. So we have these 5, and we had a debate here that you and I were part of the panel. It's going to broadcast on Friday, June 10th at 9 p.m. It's already available online at cpt12.org. Did anything stick out for you that there's an advantage in this crazy, bizarro election season we're in right now?
There's no clear-cut winner here. I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite. First of all, I totally agree with Amy in that primaries are totally different than caucuses, which is why over the last 30 or 40 years, the quote coveted top-line designation, I think that's the most overused phrase in Colorado politics. Top-line designation doesn't mean anything because the qualities that get you that top-line designation, that make you popular at that convention, are not necessarily what that mass of voters are looking for. The big question is this nomination worth having? With Trump at the top of the ticket, Bennett in pretty strong shape, one would think. You know, what does the nomination get you? Stranger things have happened in a very, very strange year. John Kaiser, when he came into the race, was going to be the second coming of Cory Gardner. I don't think anyone sees that transition from Cory Gardner to that handoff from Cory Gardner to John Kaiser necessarily taking place before their eyes. Darryl Glenn with the Senate Victory Fund, the endorsement itself doesn't matter. It has money attached to it, and that's been Glenn's big Achilles heel. Is he didn't have $1.95 to his name with which to campaign. Now he has some money he can probably get on the air. You have the 2 self-funding candidates, Jack Graham and Robert Blaha. Blaha's, just adding color to it, what a great name. Has there ever been a worse name in American politics than Blah, Blaha, blah, 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 ha, ha.
He's embracing it.
And I don't know. I don't think Michael Bennett is lying awake at night worried about it. That said, somebody will, we're still a swing state, and it will engage with whoever the nominee is. Some potential nominees will engage it more than others.
John Bowman, freelance journalist, joins us. So you have this 5-person race, and they all are starting some ads, and I think political folks who are following it might recognize some of the names, but none of these guys are major headline grabbers that average voters going to walk around saying, oh yeah, I remember that guy because he did whatever. They're pretty new to the whole system. So in that kind of a primary, what's the best strategy to try to get the attention to win the primary?
Well, as mentioned earlier, I would go Trump. I would just go Trump. I would start giving nicknames to the other candidates. I mean, you got one guy that's what, 5'4", 5'3", or 5'2". He's shorty right off the bat. I mean, just go down the line and just give them nicknames. I'm just impressed that you and Eric can remember all 5 of the candidates' names. That right there says it all.
We may be in a part of a small club in Colorado. We don't know that yet. That is all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out postgame this week. Leave us a comment and tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.